tonight we're going to talk about 4 strategies that you guys can use to develop your own freight broker niche. And I'm going to go over why it's important that you become a niche player. And this goes way beyond just freight brokering. If some of you are going to listen to this training and you may never become freight brokers, you may end up in another business or you may be looking for an opportunity. My suggestion to you is find a niche. Be a niche player. It's better to be a niche player, and I'm going to expand on that during the training here. And again, we're going to try to limit this to about a half an hour. And at the end of this, if you stick around, number 1, we're going to do live Q&A. Number 2, I'm going to share with you a free resource. I'm going to share with you a free tool. And the tool is, what was it that I put together for you guys? I forgot what it was. It was a cheat sheet that is how to get 10 plus shipper leads emailed to you every day. So I'll give you a link to where you can download a cheat sheet that's going to show you how you can get 10 plus shipper leads emailed to you every day. That's going to be a free giveaway. I'm going to give away on the back end of this training. People are logging in, but the show has to go on. We've given it a couple of minutes for people to get live, so here we go. Again, really quickly, my name is Dennis Brown, and I started a freight brokerage back in 2003. I had absolutely no experience in freight brokerage, logistics, transportation. I had no background in it. And my first year in business, we did $1.2 million in sales. Second year, we did $3.6 million. Then we did $6 million and $12 million, $18 million. And by 2015, when I retired from that business and sold it, we were doing over $80 million in sales. I sold that company to pursue some other ventures, but I am also the owner of FreightBrokerBootcamp.com, which is the internet, the most well-known online freight broker and freight agent training program online. It's the most cost-effective and comprehensive online freight broker training. So I'm the owner of that. I've kept that. I provide a lot of free training like this, but I also have an online training course. Feel free to check that out at FreightBrokerBootcamp.com. So tonight we're going to cover a topic that is really important and is near and dear to my heart. And I hope you guys enjoy it. I've done videos about it. I've done blog posts about it. I've talked to people about it. And I can't stress the importance of finding your niche. Okay? Finding your niche in business is critical. And in the freight brokerage business, in my opinion, it's even more so. So let me draw you a little bit of a picture. Here's what most people do when they become an agent or a freight broker. They go out and they start calling anybody and everybody they can to try to beg them if they'll do business with them. Okay? And it's unfortunate because there's a lot of negativity that can come with that. And it's very challenging. And so my suggestion to you is, as opposed to taking a shotgun approach, a big shotgun approach, right, where you're just shooting and trying to spray everything in sight, is that you take a little bit more of a strategic or a rifled approach, okay? So we're going to be a little bit more precise about how we go out and solicit our customers, how we go out and get new business, and the foundation of how we build our business, okay? So, the surefire way to fail in any business, and the freight brokerage business is no different, is to try to be everything to everybody. You've heard the old expression, jack of trades, master of none, right? That is a recipe for disaster as a freight broker or freight agent. So please, heed my warning. I don't care if you take my training course. I don't care where you go from here. But if you're going to become a freight broker, make sure you focus on developing a niche, all right? So, the surefire way to fail is to try to be everything to everybody. And so what I see a lot of times is, they'll be trying to work on a van load from Regina, Saskatchewan that goes down to Houston, Texas. And then the next minute they'll be trying to move a refrigerated load that goes from Florida up to Chicago. And the next minute they'll be trying to move, a flatbed load that goes from Portland, Oregon down to Sacramento, California, right? So there's no rhyme or reason. They're doing all kinds of different things that are totally disjointed. And it makes it very hard to develop a carrier base. It makes it very hard to develop your rates. it makes it very hard to create any sort of consistency for your customers in regards to the service level that you provide. Now, it doesn't mean you can't expand, but let me give you an example of how I started. Okay, back in 2003 when I started the business, again, I had no experience. What I realized very quickly is that I was located in the Northeast. Okay, I'm in Buffalo, as I shared with you. And what I realized very quickly is that in the Northeast, there was a lot of available equipment, meaning the truck to load ratio, the number of trucks versus the number of loads, there was a disproportionate number of trucks. And if you understand the concept of supply and demand, you'll realize that that will typically drive rates down. When there's more trucks than there is freight, then it drives the rates down. When there's more freight than there is trucks, then it drives the rates up. And so what I realized is that if I could get a shipper to give me a load, I would always have an available truck to cover it with, as opposed to having a load and not having a truck, right? So we developed the niche of van freight that was going from the Northeast outbound. So you typically origin somewhere in Mass or Connecticut or New Hampshire or Maine, and it would come west or south or southwest. It would move out of the Northeast, from the Northeast out of the Northeast, and it was only van loads. We didn't do refrigerated, we didn't do flatbed, we didn't do heavy hauls, we didn't do power only. We just did dry van loads. It was very simple, all right? We kept it very, very simple. And so we stuck with that niche. We really focused in on that niche very, very hard for about a year or two. Really hard. I mean, we hit it hard. We built an incredible carrier database. We had great rates and competitive rates. And if you had freight that was picking up in Massachusetts or Connecticut or Rhode Island or anywhere in that Northeast New England corridor, and it was going west or south, we were your guy. We could cover that freight very competitively, very consistently. We had great service level, and our customers were really, really happy. But it would happen all the time. I would have sales guys that would come to me, or customers that would come to me and say, hey, listen, I've got freight picking up in Texas, or I got freight picking up in Florida or California. Can you help me with that? And what I learned, one of the hardest things to do in business is to say no. But you also have to understand your limitations. And because I realized that it was the carriers that I was using out of the Northeast and the rates that I was using out of the Northeast had no correlation to moving freight out of California or Portland or wherever, Utah or Texas or Florida, because every market is dynamic. The rates are different from market to market, lane to lane, equipment to equipment. So what I learned to do was tell those customers no and stay focused on my niche. Now, there came a time, as you can see, we started growing very rapidly and we became very proficient at Northeast outbound van freight. All right? So what did we do? We expanded into some other freight. So then we started moving some refrigerated freight. So we started building a reefer base, some carriers that ran reefers, and then we got proficient at that. And then we expanded into flatbed. And then we moved out of the Northeast and we moved into some other regions. So that's how I developed my niche, and then how I expanded on that niche to take the business from startup to over 80 million in sales. And by the time I sold that business, we had freight moving everywhere. I mean, we moved flatbeds, vans, reefers, power only. We did drayage. We did all kinds of stuff. We moved almost every different type of equipment you can imagine. And we moved it all over the country. But we didn't start that way. We started out by focusing on one little niche, and then we got proficient at it and we expanded from there. So the 4 strategies that I'm going to share with you on how to create your niche, okay? And by the way, if this makes sense to you guys, give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up, and do me a huge favor, guys. I'm going to do a live Q&A at the end of this. Do me a favor, if you would, share the stream. And if you share the stream, I will answer your question live on at the end of the training, okay? So give me some thumbs up. Share the stream, share it with others, let other people know what we're doing here, let them know about this free training, and I will absolutely be happy to answer your questions live at the end of this training, okay? So The 4 strategies are this, all right? The first strategy that you can focus in on to find a niche is by equipment type. It's what I did. I focused in on dry vans. That's all I did. We focused dry van only, and that's what we did. The other way to do it is by product or by industry, right? So some people like to focus in on produce. That's a product-driven niche. Some people like to focus in on building materials like steel because they want to run flatbeds. Some people focus in on, high value equipment, or heavy equipment or high value, freight like computers and electronics. There are all kinds of different niches based on products and based on the different industries. So that's the second way. The first way is by equipment. The second way is by products or by industries. The third way is by geography or lanes. So you might be, if you're based out of Dallas, Texas, you may, this is just an idea, it's not a must, but it's an idea. You might focus in on Dallas inbound or Dallas outbound freight because it's local to you and it's a great place to start. Now you're probably going to want to focus in on an equipment. And so that's another way to do it, which is what I call, which is number 4, which is a hybrid of either 1, 2, or 3. Now, my niche was a hybrid. I did van freight, northeast, outbound. So you may end up doing a niche. You may end up doing a dual niche where it's equipment or industry type and a lane or some geography, right? So you might specialize in, if you're based out of Dallas, just this hypothetical, or you're based out of Texas, you may take freight that's either outbound out of Texas going north or going west, or maybe it's going to the Midwest up to Chicago, and then you might make that your niche. And that's where you start. It's not where you end, it's not where you finish, it's not where you're limited to, but it's where you can start and develop a great carrier following, develop a great reputation with your clients, develop a very strong rate base because you're going to understand that niche as good as anybody. You're going to become an expert. You're going to become a trusted advisor, a valuable resource in that lane, in that niche. And it's way better to be an expert in a niche than it is to be a generalist amongst all the other freight brokers out there. Okay? So, again, number 1 is you find your niche and define your niche by equipment. Number 2 is you define it by product or industry. I gave you some examples of that. Number 3 is your niche can be based on geography or lanes, freight lanes, okay? And then number 4 is you would have a hybrid of either 1, 2, or 3. And I shared with you how that worked for me, okay? So that's a few of the ways that you can develop a niche. That's how I developed my niche. I shared with you my story. Again, for those of you that are just joining into the stream now, my name is Dennis Brown. And, I started a freight brokerage back in 2003, built that freight brokerage for 12 years, built it to over 80 million in sales and sold it. And now I'm the owner of FreightBrokerBootCamp.com, which is an online freight broker and freight agent training program where I teach other people to do what I did. Today, we're covering 4 strategies on how you can find your niche as a freight broker or freight agent. Okay? So, we talked a little bit about those 4 strategies, and so now what I want to do is I want to dive in to a little bit of Q&A. Now, I know it's a little bit of an off time, so I'm not sure how many people are on here, but I'm sure that a ton of people are going to watch this in replay. So what I want to do is I want to field some questions. Now, I've done a few of these live trainings now, guys. I think this is my 3rd or 4th Facebook Live training that I've done for freight brokering. And, the feedback has been incredible. I've had a ton of questions. I've had a lot of people, just engaging with the different training. And so all I ask, I do all this free, guys. This is absolutely free. It costs you nothing. You don't need your credit card. I'm not going to ask you to spend any money. All I'm going to ask you to do is if you have a question, 2 things. Before you ask the question, share the stream. Just click share below the post and share the stream with your different, with your network. Okay, just hit share and share the stream. That would be awesome. I also ask you to like the post and give me some thumbs up, and then type in your question. If you guys have questions, awesome. We will try to get to all those questions today if you're live. And even if you're watching this in replay, I'll come back into the post and try to answer those questions through the chat box, okay, as a way to help you guys later on, okay? But for those of you that are live, hit that, share the stream, hit like, and let's get into a few questions. And from there, we'll get things rolling, okay? So who do we got on here? We've got Jason back on here. We've got Lori Marshall. We've got Jesus Paquino. We've got Barb Chevers. We got Michael Martinez. Who else we got? We got some other people in here. Those are just the people that have liked it so far. So what do we got for questions? We got, again, who do we got for questions, guys? If you guys don't have any questions, that's awesome. I'll give you guys the resource where you guys can download that free resource, that cheat sheet that I'm going to give you, which is how to get 10 plus shipper leads emailed to you daily. So for those of you that are watching the stream, how many of you are interested in getting that cheat sheet, how to get 10 plus shipper leads emailed to you every day? I figured that this would go in hand with the niche, because finding your niche and finding leads, that kind of goes hand in hand. If you guys are interested in getting that free cheat sheet, make sure you type in the box here, let me know that you guys are interested in getting that, and I will definitely make sure that we put that link up for you guys to get it. So, all right, so some of the questions that I normally get from this when we're talking about niches are this, because I've gotten a bunch of these questions before. Okay, so Jason's looking for it. Jason wants that free cheat sheet. It'll be available for you guys to download. I'm just going to have a link in here where you guys can click on it, just put your email address in, and it'll automatically email you a 2-page PDF that'll go over the cheat sheet on how to get those leads emailed to you every day. So some of the questions I get about finding your niche is this. People ask me, to clarify the 4 different points. The one is obviously equipment type. The primary equipment types are this: dry van, refrigerated, which is usually either fresh or frozen type food, flatbeds, which come in a variety of different shapes and sizes, and then heavy haul, right? And so I consider heavy haul a niche because it's got very specialized, like, low boys and RGNs and, just double drops and all kinds of really niche equipment. And I will tell you this, unless you've got experience in heavy haul, I strongly suggest you don't make that your initial niche. I would suggest that dry vans or maybe some refrigerated or maybe some basic flatbed stuff would be a great equipment type for you to start. So you got equipment, you've got industry, and you have, product driven. You've got some products and industries. You've got also, you've got some geography is another one. You've got lanes or geography. And then you also have the last one, which I jotted down here. What the heck did I do with it? Sorry, guys. The last one is, I can't find it. I lost my place here. We've got, let's see where we're at. Oh, a hybrid, which is a hybrid of 1, 2, or 3, which is equipment, industry, or geography, okay? So we got a question coming in here. I'm not sure who the question's from. Let's check it out. Let's see what we got. All right, comments here. Okay, so Jason Beck says, how much insurance bond on freight? Okay. All right, so listen, I'll answer this question, but do me a favor, guys. You really need to keep the questions related to the topic that we're going over, which is the niches. So here, how much insurance bond on freight? So to become a licensed freight broker, you need to have a $75,000 bond. Now, don't let that scare you, because you don't have to have $75,000. You just have to have a bond for $75,000, which typically costs somewhere between 1 and 5% of the total bond, and it's based upon your credit. Now, if you don't have credit, you may need something to secure that bond, okay? Or you may need to get some sort of a broker trust, right? So, there are different ways to do that. If you have bad credit and you can't get a bond, your best option is to become an agent. And, I strongly suggest people become an agent anyway if they have no experience, because it's a great way to start. You have very low risk, you've got a high commission rate, and you can build a customer base. Because let me tell you something, if you can't build an agency, you can't build a brokerage. It's really that simple, because there's more to do as a broker than there is an agent. And it takes a lot more investment of time and energy and capital to become your own broker than it does to become an agent. So I highly suggest, and make sure you don't look over the agent opportunity, because you're still an independent contractor, you're still building your own business, you still have an incredible opportunity. I mean, our average agent, I think one of the last years I was there, average agent working from home made over $107,000 working from home. Top agents would make $300,000 or $400,000 a year in commission. And these are small businesses, guys. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 guys in their office. And they're really, really small, but they're just killing it in commissions. I mean, I remember having weeks where we would give guys commissions that were $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 in a week sometimes, where they would absolutely crush it. I remember one agent called me up after I retired, and he told me he had a $100,000 month. He made $100,000 in commission in 1 month. That was huge. It was crazy. So don't look over the opportunity of being an agent. And again, I'm not promising you that you're going to make $100,000. I'm not promising you're going to make $100, okay? There's a lot that goes into building a successful freight brokerage, including not only, time and energy and your willingness to work hard and a little bit of luck and timing and all that, but ultimately what I'm telling you is that if one man can do it, another man can do it. And the opportunity is there, okay? So let's dive into, so Barbara wants me to clarify on personal credit. To become a freight broker, a licensed freight broker, you have to get what's known as a broker bond, okay? You have to get a surety bond for $75,000. And in order to do that, they are going to pull your personal credit, because the company, if you have a new brokerage, it means you have a new business that doesn't have any credit, okay? So they're going to look at your personal credit and run a credit report, and based upon that, they're going to assess risk on what your rate would be. And typically, the rates are anywhere between 1% and 5% of the total bond cost. So you can do the math. If you don't qualify for the bond, then you can become an agent by going and working under a licensed broker, okay? I did a whole other training. You guys can check out my Facebook. All right, we're back. Sorry, guys, I lost you there for a second. I apologize. But I was answering the question for Barbara about getting your bond and about, personal credit. You have to apply for a bond, and part of that is they're going to assess your personal credit, okay? If you don't want to do that and you want to just become an agent, they don't pull your credit. You're going to find a licensed broker, and you can operate under them. I did a training on my Facebook channel previously, and we had a ton of interaction. We answered a lot of questions live. Feel free to go over to that. You can search through my channel and see how to get hired as a freight agent with no experience or customers, okay? So what other questions we got? Michael Martinez says, got to be hungry. I agree, Michael. You got to be hungry. You got to be out there. You got to hustle. You got to be willing to work hard. Okay, cool. So if there's any last questions, if not, I'm going to sign off here in just a minute. I'm going to give you the link to where you guys can download that free cheat sheet, which is how to get 10 plus shipper leads emailed to you every day. So do we have any last questions here? Let's see. I do not see any question. Let's make sure here we don't have any. All right, cool. All right, guys, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you this link right now. Hold on one second. Where is it? Okay, cool. Here we go. I apologize, guys. It's two people. I'm running this, one person running this with, I don't know why this thing keeps doing this, but it's freezing up. So I'm going to put this in right now. Give me a sec. And you guys can download it. Okay, here you go. All right, if you guys click on that link, you're going to see, or you cut and paste that link. If you click on it or cut and paste that link, whatever you need to do in order to access it, you're going to get access to that free cheat sheet, which is how to get 10 plus shipper leads emailed to you every day. It's a system that I've used for many, many years. It's incredibly simple, but incredibly effective. So download that free cheat sheet and enjoy. Barbara says, I'm looking into becoming a freight broker, both to start a career and help my husband. He just came back, became a truck driver. He does flatbed for Prime. So guess that would be my niche. Sure, it could be, absolutely. That could be a great niche. Flatbed. You might want to hone in on a little bit more on just an industry as well, or maybe some geography. Find a little bit more of a niche, but that's a great place to start. Flatbed is a great place to start, particularly if your husband knows flatbed and understands flatbed freight, because he's going to be able to help educate you a little bit, connect you with different flatbed carriers, kind of keep his ears open for opportunities. And that could be a great way for you to get your brokerage going, absolutely, or become an agent, depending on what you were looking to do. So I think that's a great idea, Barbara. So hey guys, if there's any final questions, get them in here, because I am going to be signing off here in just a minute. If there's any final questions, let's get them in. If not, then forever hold your pieces. I will definitely continue to do these types of trainings. I've been typically doing one every week or two. Again, share the post, give me some thumbs up, like the post, get that free cheat sheet. Stay tuned for future trainings, and I appreciate you guys chiming in, and we'll see you soon.